I don't know about you, but I'm in the mood for fall. And so today we're going to paint these lovely jack-o'-lanterns. And we're going to focus on the lights and the darks and how to get the darks dark enough so that you get that round 3D look on your 2D painting. Now this is quite a light green and has some brightness in it, so I'm using permanent green pale, but that's way too bright. So we'll add some sap green in with it. I'm watering it down so that it'll be light. Getting the lights in first, azo yellow, and then into some gamboge yellow. Now gamboge is really bright, as you can see, and you do need to water it down if you want a lighter look. As I'm going, I'm just dabbing on top of the other and getting the yellow up in there. This little tool is the best tool that you can use for getting your values right. All you need is some watercolor paper or paper that's the same color as your watercolor paper and a hole punch. My round hole punch only reaches in this far and I like it to be closer to the middle. So I use this rectangle hole punch, but you can certainly use a round hole punch and you can probably find some that reach in further. And I do 3 of them beside each other and it makes a little square. That's all there is to it. They do get dirty frequently, as you can see, and so then you need more. So I use up my scraps of paper this way and make them frequently. When I have classes, I give them out to all the people in my class. Then you can do this on your photo and on your painting. And I already know it's too light, but that is a totally different color. It looks very yellow, but it's actually quite green. So I'm going to go and put some lower key colors into that. So it's good to practice on this little one that's way down here, because then you get a feel for it, and the ones that are more prominent in your painting. Okay, that's pretty close. Now on this one, there's a very sharp contrast, and we want to make sure we have those lights as light as they should be. So it's a very creamy color, and I'm going to mix a little bit of gamboge with a little bit of yellow and water it way down. If you want, you can use some ochre in there. And it starts from here and goes across. Dried my brush on the sponge, and I'm going across to pick up some of that paint, and then moving down into the next layer of colors, which is more orange, but it's a subdued orange. It's not a loud orange. So I'm mixing some orange with some green. And up here, it starts out that color. I've rinsed my brush, dried it on my sponge, dabbed it on my sponge, not really dried it, and I'm softening all these edges before I move onward. But you can see that we have quite a contrast from there down to here, and it'll be even more before we're done. Now let's see what color that is. Oh, it's quite a bit darker than that, but it's almost a peachy brown color. And watered down so that it's very light. And even though I'm kind of trying to get these colors accurate, this photo might not even be accurate. And if I was painting it in nature, I might be coming up with a different scenario. So don't stress too much if it's the exact color, but using this tool does help you to get some idea of what the color is. So as you can see, mine isn't dark enough, and it perhaps could have a little bit more orange in it, especially in some of these places. Now, in case you're wondering, this brush is an amazing brush. It's a silver Atelier Squirrel Blend quill, and it holds so much water that you can paint for a long time before you have to change it, and yet it has this fantastic point. And then there's some green coming up into this part. And we're just going to let that one dry too. Let's check out that top part first. It's pink, and I'm making the pink by lightening the red instead of getting a pink off my palette, because otherwise it'd probably be the wrong color of pink. Now we're going to we have the basic color on, and we're going to see way darker. And this one too is way, way darker in there. I've rolled my brush onto my sponge to get it a good point. And I'm going to get in some of these veins. This vein is quite green here, but at the top it turns oranger. Now rinsing my brush a little bit so that I can get some of that color that's watered down to go in over here and make some of these different veins and mix this color in, make everything look darker. Now for the background, we're going to take some gray greens. It isn't making these pop forward, so let's just check this. There's the puddle there. So that's not too bad. This is actually, it looks so dark on here, but it's actually not as dark. I think it's just a little brighter. Let's make it grayer. All right, it's not totally dry, and so we're going to be gentle with our bouquet. Now this, I want the big, loose look. So I'm dipping my brush, pushing it into my sponge so it has less water, and since my paper's still damp, I'm not pushing very hard. Dipping it again, just pushing it into the sponge, and I'm going to make all different sizes because that's what will look better. I've gotten my vibrant colors, but I don't have my darks. Just look at this. See how much darker that is? It's darker, but this one is way darker. Look, all the way across, I don't have it dark enough. This one is pretty close, still not as dark as that one. And this one, I got the closest. First thing I'm going to do is just put a little red on this. I want it to be watered down though, because that got too dark. It covered up every bit of detail. But this one is redder than the others, and I like that. Still covering up all the details, so watering it down a bit more with red and Payne's Gray mixed, because those first little strokes I put on there were too dark. Using a good pointy brush for this. The color is sharper on one side than on the other. So I'm using two brushes. I'm using two brushes, one with just water and the other with paint. And then this side I'll just soften so that's not a sharp edge on both sides, because these edges cast their own shadow. Now, the second thing that this tool works for is finding what the color is. What color really is that? It's sort of an orangey brown. I'm going to use my already dirty ones for this because my paint is wet. Okay, that's quite a bit closer, and I think I'm content with it. I'm going to rinse my brush, tap it to my sponge, and dry it really well, and do a little bit of softening. So I just got it a little bit too rough. Sometimes I use markers, and even though I have a huge set of markers, I can't find the exact color that I want. And I want a green so that it doesn't distract. So you need a good point for that. And a bit of a steady hand. Have fun with all your fall foliage.